everybody. I am so happy to be here today with a new friend, Saysha Greene, and she is Insatiable Knits on Instagram. Hey, how are you?
I'm great.
Oh
It's
my
good to be
gosh,
here.
I am so excited. So, just to tell you guys how I came across Seisha's work, when I talked with Nitrino and I was looking through their patterns, I love brioche. I love it. And I know it's one of those things that some people go, ah, but I really love it. And I spotted her brioche patterns, and your patterns are beautiful. And I
Thank
thought,
you.
all right, I need to I need to do a project and just enjoy, because, a lot of the time we do projects for work, and it's work, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I wanted to do something I would really enjoy. So Whispering Willow. Am I right?
Yep,
Yeah. So
you're
I
right.
did this and I love it. I love it. But I was telling you beforehand, I think I've learned a thing. So I spun this. This is hand spun. And I love it. And I love one side of this, but and maybe when it's blocked out, it will be more pronounced. I'm trying to love the subtlety of the back, but I may have gone too subtle. So I don't know. I'm not inclined to stop because I love the front of it. I'm not sure I picked a great combination for the back. So it's all right.
Yeah, that's always the dilemma with brioche, do you go high contrast or low contrast? And it can look great either way, but yeah, like when you just don't know until you actually have the two yarns combined. It's like, hmm.
Like what's gonna happen? Yeah, and I don't dislike it. I wish I had. In a way, I wish I'd gone higher contrast, but I was trying to do some adulting in my knitting, a little more subtle, and I'm not sure I got there. But so tell everybody how you got started knitting, who taught you, give us your knitting history.
Sure. So, I learned the knit and the purl stitch in high school from my
Oh,
aunt.
oh, okay.
Uh, and I grew up crocheting and sewing. My mother taught me to crochet when I was like 6 or 7 years old, and that's what I knew, and I felt really comfortable with it and very intimidated by knitting.
Oh, okay.
And so I never took to it. So I did learn, like I said, the knit and purl stitch like in high school,
Yeah,
and I didn't do anything with it. I learned it. That was great. I kept on crocheting and
yeah,
sewing.
I love it.
And so maybe I'm gonna say 10 years later or so, I was on a trip um, to New Zealand and Australia,
Oh, wow.
and I was inspired by all of this beautiful, natural yarns, all these sheep about. And so I went to a yarn store and I picked up some yarn and some double pointed needles and a little like booklet. And I knit a sock, one sock.
Wow, but that was, I mean, that's awesome. A lot of people don't grab knitting needles and they're like, yeah, double points in a sock right out of the gate, you know? That's awesome. And
Yeah, I mean,
what took you?
obviously the sock leaves a little bit, it's the wrong yarn, it's the wrong gauge. It's like a wool boot is what it's like.
That's all right. It's a first sock, but you did
But
it. So I
yeah,
have to know what took you there. Was it just a pleasure trip or?
yeah, no, it was just a pleasure trip, like, place, that seemed like, a great place to go.
Oh, awesome.
Um, and I was the person that I was dating at the time, who have two kids with now. So I was knitting the sock for him. So I knit this one sock on the trip, because you're like you're riding in buses, and there's a lot of like travel where,
Yeah.
yeah, you can read a book, but it was fun, kind of, reintroducing myself to knitting through this trip, this little booklet that I have, and I still have it here somewhere. And he wears the socks. He finally got the second sock like 5 years,
Oh,
but he still wears them.
that's awesome. We've had so many people say, and it kills me when people say this, but oh, I could never knit socks, or I could, never. Anybody saying I could never fill in the blank when it comes to crafting just makes me sad, because how do you know if you don't try?
I know. And
So,
I agree with you. And even when people say things like, you know, like try to deter people from doing like a hat or a sweater as their first project, you just don't know. I have some people that because I teach knitting class with at the
mhm.
yarn store that I work at, Yarnia in Montclair, and I have people who they take to it so quickly, and they're like gangbusters. They're knitting
Yeah,
sweaters, they're knitting socks, like almost immediately, and you just don't know. It
yeah.
really is
They need the
individual.
challenge. Yeah, it's good. It's good. And, now I'm curious, as people move along in their knitting, some people end up being product knitters. They want to get to the end of a thing, they want the finished product, wear it, give it away, whatever. And then the process knitters are there, who sometimes care if they get to the end, but it's really about the process of knitting itself. And I wonder how those learners grow up to be, if there's correlation or if it
Yeah,
changes. I don't know. Be
yeah,
interesting to find out.
yeah. That's an interesting thing to think about. I mean, for myself, at least when I was learning how to knit, and at
Hmm.
that point, I felt like I was teaching myself. Like I said, I had learned the knit and the purl stitch, but I mean, I pretty much am self-taught
Yeah.
the major stuff. And with every project I was looking to find something new to try and to
Yeah.
do, and so I love, so I think I'm probably considered a process knitter because I do love the process. I do love learning new things. That is to me like one of the major um, factors in continuing to knit. Not just the enjoyment of knitting, but also the enjoyment of learning
Yeah.
something new, learning a new way to do things. Always something new. It's
Yeah.
just, and it seems like everything has been done or learned, but it really hasn't been. There's so much innovation and just kind of sharp people out there with great ideas, and I love that.
Yeah, I do too. I'm with you. I'm not sure anybody would necessarily refer to me as a process knitter, because I want to I want to get the things. I like the end, the end of the thing, but I
Yeah.
love to learn, and it's a great way to learn a lot of different things. So yeah, I love that too. So tell me about your journey into designing, and how did that happen, and what have you discovered through that?
Sure. I feel like I've always been a creative person. Like I said, I crocheted, I sewed, and I would like, make up little patterns and, like sell things as I was growing up. And so I've always, had, kind of a creative outlet one way or the other. And
Hmm.
I believe also that my corporate career job was a creative outlet as well, and that was in information technology. I was a
Oh,
software designer, and I still consider myself a software designer, except different kind of soft. Um,
yes, I love that.
exactly. And there's a lot of parallels in software design, I think, and knitwear design. But I retired in 2016, and
Oh, okay.
I started. I was a leader for my daughter's Girl Scout troop, and we were on a camping trip, and I saw this lady with a cute little hat on, and I was admiring it,
Right.
and so a lot of times, and I've said this before, sometimes design is a little bit of like creative imitation,
Yeah.
so I
Hmm.
saw this hat, I liked it. I didn't know how it was made or anything like that, but I asked her if I could take a couple of pictures of the hat, and she was nice. She let me
Yeah.
take a couple of pictures of it, and I went about figuring out how to do it. And at
Yeah.
that time, I did not know. And the hat that became was this hat, which is called the Breeze Waffle Beanie.
Ooh, hold it up a
So
little
it
higher. I want to see the bottom too. Oh,
oh,
cool. Okay.
wrong way,
Eh,
wrong
there you
way.
go. Yeah.
Okay.
I love it. Oh my gosh. So that's brioche rib, right?
Yeah, so this is half brioche, although,
Oh, okay.
I throw an extra, little row in there, but it is essentially half brioche. And and I didn't know that though. So I just was playing around like with the swatch and just trying to figure out, well, how can you accomplish this? How can you make this kind of waffly texture that I saw in this hat? And I was playing and, just knitting. And it was only after I had, you know, kind of what I thought come up with the stitch that I found out that it was the half brioche stitch, which is great,
Right,
because then
right,
I had resources that I could go to and see, okay, how should it really be done?
right.
And the way that I was doing it was close enough, and it's still, I got the result that I wanted. It's not exactly,
But it
the way,
worked.
but it worked. It
Yeah.
worked, and it gave me the product that I was looking for. So, and I had never even thought about publishing a pattern. I didn't even know what was involved in doing that. And I wrote it up. At that time, I was meeting up with local knitters at a library.
Yeah.
And one of the folks there, her name is Casey. She has her Instagram is Prim Knits, and she dyes yarn.
Oh,
And
okay.
she also designs patterns.
Hmm.
And so, kind of through discussion with her, I kind of, thought, well, maybe it's possible. Maybe
Like,
it
yeah,
is.
I could do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, okay, maybe I can do this. So, um, and I left this first pattern in its original format, which is very, it's a lot different than like my current patterns, the format,
Right,
because
right, right.
I like to see kind of where it came from to where it is now.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was the first one. I, never thought that that would be something that I would do or try, but
Hmm.
it's been fun, dreaming up new ideas and partnering with people and
It's fun.
collaborating with Neutrino, Allison and Andrea. I love working with them. So
They're awesome. Yeah. They're very fun to talk to, too. Um,
yeah,
how many patterns have you had on their site, and how long have you been collaborating with them?
I have, well, I have two that have been published,
Yeah.
and I think two that are in the works, maybe two or three that are in the works, that, they've been designed
Yeah.
and they have them. They've got a queue of designs that they work through. But yeah, I've got two that have already been published. One is the sock pattern, I think, that you mentioned when you
Yep.
had a conversation with them, and then the other one is a beanie.
And I think I have a picture. Ooh, that's cute. I think, ooh, I love that. See the contrast. I did not nail it on the contrast.
That's high. That one is high
I
contrast.
love that.
Yeah,
Yes. And I actually really, really love the mint. That's like a minty,
yeah, it's like a
it's
minty
cool with
color,
that. Yeah.
the brim, and the hat is actually knit from the top down.
Hold it up in the middle if you can. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. I just think that's so fun. Everybody who knows me knows I love really interesting color combinations. I love that.
Yeah, and that yarn is from Less Traveled Yarns. And so I I designed this one to be knit from the top down, because
Hmm.
not only are people intimidated by brioche, but people are intimidated sometimes by doing creases. And decreases can be a little bit more challenging than an
Yeah.
increase. And so you only have to do increases for the hat. And the tough part is done first. So you get the increases out of the way, and
Yep.
then you can just carry on and not be worried about the crown of the hat. And you know, I think it maybe feels a little bit better to have that kind of difficult part behind you at the outset, and then
Yep.
ease into the kind of just repetitive, knitting part of it. So at least that's what I was hoping.
See, and that's what I love. Anybody who's thinking about doing brioche, I love brioche in the round because, especially two color, there is a rhythm to it. It's very rhythmic. So when you get past a certain point of something, you can just cruise. It's Netflix time at that point. So
Yeah, I
I
agree. I
love
think
that.
to get comfortable with it. It's the same kind of feeling that you get when you're just doing like stockinette, or garter.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
can be that way. Obviously, in the beginning when you're unsure about things, it can feel a little bit scary, and certainly if you drop a stitch, it can feel a little bit scary.
Yeah, it definitely I totally agree with that. But it's like anything else. I would encourage anybody watching, if you drop a stitch or something gets wonky, before you abandon ship and, completely run out of the room screaming with your hair on fire, stop and try to fix it, because in the figuring out of that puzzle, you will learn in the future how to handle that so you don't have to walk away, you know?
Absolutely. I agree with that 1000%. And even things, so you definitely put it down and maybe walk away from it until you get your composure,
Calm
don't
down.
heart attack.
Yeah, just breathe. Yeah.
Exactly. And I say to people, always have like, especially if you're learning something new, always have like, a little swatch or something going where you can practice things like fixing a mistake in whatever that technique is, whether it's cables or
Yep.
stockinette, garter stitch, or brioche.
Hmm.
And this way you're building your confidence on something that you don't really care about, so to
Right.
speak, is watch, so that when you finally get to a project that you're really in love with and you really want to do well with, you've built up a little bit of confidence, and you won't panic if you make a mistake.
Yep. Don't freak out, y'all. Just breathe before you freak out.
Exactly.
Don't freak out.
Exactly.
I think I have a picture. Let me see if the socks. Isn't that them on the bottom right? Yeah, brioche
That's
for
them.
brunch.
Yeah, that's them. I made mine a little bit longer. In the app, they are like little shorties, like ankle socks.
Okay.
And even the ones on the left in that picture, the really colorful
Oh,
purple and
yeah.
turquoise, those are actually the same sock but in fingering weight yarn.
Oh, okay. Now, if they buy the pattern, do they get both the weights in the pattern or?
No, no, they don't. The pattern is for DK weight.
Oh,
But
so it's like a
originally,
slipper sock. Okay.
yeah, yeah, so it's like a house sock, I think, or a slipper sock. You
Nice. Yeah.
put them in stocks or whatever. But
Hmm.
originally, when I was talking to Andrea and Allison about sock, my first samples were knit and fingering, because that's, automatically I thought
Yeah.
socks, fingering weight, and then they came with the idea of doing them in DK weight, which I love. I
Yeah, I
love
do
them.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah. DK weight socks and then in brioche on top of it would be the most squishy, awesome, just,
they
yeah.
are.
Yeah. I have done DK socks. I haven't done brioche socks in DK. So now I'm thinking, hmm, yeah, that's probably
Yeah,
going to be
very
on my
squishy.
list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very stretchy, very squishy. Yeah, I love them.
So I want to show, can I show some more pictures
Sure.
that I shared with you? So this is Seisha's Instagram, the top of her Instagram. Your logo, which I don't know, let me see if I can I zoom it in? It's not going to let me. Your logo is so cute. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I love that. And my little avatar. So I don't know how I came across this artist. Her name is Sabrina Vincent.
Hmm.
And she used to have a site, I don't know if she still does, called
Okay.
Slovely, Slovly, like
Oh,
so lovely. Maybe it's like so lovely. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you.
okay.
But anyway, she has this cute artwork, and I, was kind of, I don't know why. I just didn't want to put my picture when I created my Ravelry account. So I reached out to her and commissioned her to do that piece of
Awesome.
art for me. And I sent her pictures of myself, and I sent pictures of my daughter so that she could do similar thing for my daughter. So somewhere in my feed there's a one of those same kind of images of my daughter. She's got really curly hair, so she's got these little bluebirds nesting in her hair.
Oh, I love that.
And I just loved Sabrina's art.
Yeah.
And she had done a few pieces of commissioned work, I guess, for other knitters
Oh,
that
okay.
I really love. So, like, I mean, if you can find some of her artwork out there, Google her. She's got other like knitting images but this particular one, I just went back and forth with her, you know. I want to have my stash all around me. Maybe I'll have a flower in my hair. And I mean, I think she did a great job. I love
Yeah,
it.
it's very sweet.
It
It
is
look
sweet.
Yeah, it's really sweet and it looks just very warm and inviting. So when I saw it, I was like, yeah, I think this would be fun to chat. Just because honestly, it comes across as you're very warm and inviting. And so, yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's,
I'm glad that it comes across that way. And it's funny, one time I had done a post on Instagram with that picture, you
yeah.
know, kind of talking about the background, and one of somebody on Instagram had indicated that she had, I guess, printed the picture out or whatever and
Oh,
had it in her office or whatever. She didn't know, of course, that it was me, because who would know? Who would know
oh
that it
my
was,
gosh.
right? Because it's just an image to anybody else. For me, because I commissioned it, you know, I know it's me, but nobody else
Right.
knows me.
That's
But I
pretty
love
awesome.
it. It's really pretty.
I love it. Yeah, it's beautiful. Before I show any more pictures, I keep wanting to ask you about your sweater. So that has to be one of your designs, right?
No, this
Oh,
is a ranunculus.
oh, it sure is. Oh my gosh. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
it's
Wow.
I
I don't think I'm used to seeing them. This is why it looks so different. I have not seen a lot of them that were as drapey and just soft. A lot of the ranunculus sweaters end up being fairly, they have a fair amount of bones to them, it almost seems like, you know?
yeah, this one is a strand of lace weight with mohair. So I think that using the lace weight makes it a little bit
I
lighter.
love it. I love
Um,
it.
yeah,
Yeah, it really comes across very differently. That I love it. Yeah, that's
yeah,
beautiful. Okay, let
yeah.
me see what else I've got. I have another picture from your Instagram. Tell me about the things that are on here.
Okay, so top left, my left is Soraya, which is
The red shawl, right?
the red shawl.
Yeah,
That red is the color is coquelicot. I'm probably pronouncing it incorrectly, but that is La Bien-Aimée Corey worsted, and that pattern is in Amy's worsted book, her little yellow worsted book, and that was a lot of fun to do. It's a,
beautiful. Yeah,
yeah, it's a half pie shawl. Um, in the middle, I'm wearing my weekender sweater from Andrea Mowry.
yeah,
And on the right is my stepping stone scarf, which was a pattern that I wrote because I teach classes. So I was trying to think of something for like a knitting 102 class where people learn the basic knit and purl, but maybe they haven't done them in combination.
right.
So this stepping stone scarf is kind of a means of, you know, allowing them to read a pattern, learn to read their knitting, and produce something that, you know, could give to anybody.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, and then that scarf on the bottom left is Kvist, which is in the Woolfolk Fall collection, and that is a cabled scarf. It's very wide and kind of um, you know nice and large scarf, like 14 inches wide, 80 inches long.
hmm,
Uh, cables on a stockinette background, so it's a very graphic cable, very bold.
that's
Um,
beautiful. It looks like a kind of almost like a stole, then, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it could be worn probably as a wrap. And, I have had people reach out to me too to ask about extra repeats to make it even wider than the 14 inches that it is. And, certainly that can be done.
Yeah,
But I think it's very generous. Even at 14 inches is quite generous, and can be worn by, male or female. It's, you know, uh, just kind of a very a nice staple piece, I think.
what weight did you say that one was?
That one is worsted. It's knit in Woolfolk Far.
Worsted. Okay, okay. Very
Yeah,
cool.
which is so soft and so beautiful. So, yeah, I love that one.
I love that. And then,
Those other two picks, yeah, those other two picks are for an upcoming design collaboration with Hudson and West, with India Untangled, for next year. So they
very
have
cool.
a yarn club where you get 4 installments through the year in 2023. And my design will be installment number 3.
Ooh,
And
awesome.
the inspiration for that, well, the kind of prompt for the designs is where we knit. And so I was thinking of like, music festivals and, outdoorsy type things. So my theme is bourbon and blues. And so that's my inspo for my design, which will come in the August installment of the Yarn Club.
That is awesome. All right, so you are a bourbon and blues fan then?
I am, yeah.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, Sherry, my co-diva, is a bourbon fan, and we have a friend who's also a designer, Sandy Rosner, who uh, always hits us up to go to jazz and blues concerts, and we love it. So, yeah, right there with you. And then the last one is what? What is that?
So that's just kind of a collage of the 4 different inspiration photos.
That is beautiful. God, that image is really pretty.
Yeah, so those are the images for the other designers and dyers. So every designer is paired with a dyer
Oh,
to
very
come up.
cool. I love that. Oh my gosh. And that collage, just that, you know, that's really pretty.
It's really pretty.
The
Yeah.
colors are really nice.
Yeah, and
Oh,
I like the idea of that kind of a yarn club where you're getting to experience different yarns and different designers and,
yeah.
always something different,
Yeah, I love that
with
too. It gives you a chance to taste different things. And for people who are watching, we get the question or have gotten the question a lot about using different brands of yarn together. Yes, you can. There is no rule against using different yarns together. In fact, you can come up with some amazing color combinations by doing that. So, yes, give it a shot. There's no reason you can't. So, if you sign up for a club like that, you could always, if you wanted to, get one of Seisha's patterns and then use colors from different dyers together. It's just fun. It's fun to experiment. I also have, this is, I think I have, no, I've only got one of these. So I see the shawl that I'm knitting there on the left.
Yeah, and actually that is the cowl.
Oh, that's a
So that one
cowl
is
of
called
it.
yeah. So that cowl is called Willow Moon.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but, but that same motif, those willow leaves are the same that's used in the shawl that you're knitting, the Whispering Willow shawl.
I love that. I love the motif. It is awesome. And I have to tell you, too, um, and I'll show it in a second so that people can see what I'm talking about, but your use of a stitch marker in there is very helpful. And I've,
Okay,
I've knit a lot of brioche and designed brioche, and I haven't done that, used a marker that way, and it's awesome. So thank you for that.
cool.
So,
And the design in the middle is called Tannenbaum.
oh, okay. And that's a cowl, is that right?
That is a cowl, and it's actually the first thing, I guess, technically that I ever designed because when I came back to knitting, which was like 2009, I think it was, like when my daughter was born, I went into a yarn store. It was the first time I purchased a hand dyed yarn. uh, and
Yay!
is Malabrigo hand dyed?
Yeah, it is. They're just not considered because they're larger. They're really not in the. They're not lumped in with indie dyers. But yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So it was Malabrigo.
Oh,
And so I went into the yarn store, and it was my first what I would call, like, expensive yarn. It's not
it's
not
nice.
not,
It is really
not
nice yarn. Yeah.
yeah, it's beautiful yarn. And I asked her, okay, what size needle should I use for this? And I had a book from my mother. It was Reader's Digest, I don't know, something about needlepoint. I don't know,
Yeah.
it was a Reader's Digest book that had like knitting, crochet, needlepoint, all kinds of complete guide to needlepoint, I think is what it was
Oh,
called.
okay.
And in there was like a ruching type stitch.
Okay.
And I used that stitch to make a cowl that I loved, and I wore it. And then later on, after I had published the brioche waffle beanie, and I can't remember, maybe I had published something else after that. I had a mud cloth inspired ear warmer called
Yeah.
Bogle on Fini. I thought back to that cowl and I'm like, well, technically I could write that up, like originally I actually had the instructions for it in my project page. If
Mhm.
somebody came across the project and they wanted to make one. And I thought, oh, well, I could really write this up nice, in a real
Yeah.
pattern and, you know, put it out there. And that's what I did. So I took those instructions off my project page and I made them nicer and I reknit it and I created the pattern. So
It's beautiful, and it actually looks like a fairly quick knit.
it is.
So if you guys are really ambitious, because at this point I've given up any hope of making anything other than maybe baking something for Christmas. But if you're ambitious, go for it. You can knock out a cowl or two. So yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
And I think I have also, the last thing is I have just a little snapshot of your Ravelry page, which is really fun to go through. You guys go visit that. And I think you're not Insatiable Knits on Ravelry. It's just Saysha Greene, right? Is that?
Yeah, I went through trying to figure that whole thing out and make it insatiable. I was just like, I give up. It will be Saysha Green. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I am insatiable on Ravelry. So I'm insatiable on Ravelry, but the store is Saysha Green. The designs are under Saysha Green.
Awesome. So please, you guys go take a look and follow her on Instagram. And this has been really fun. And I really appreciate your willingness and just generosity of spirit to spend some time with me. So, yeah.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
It's been really fun. So, you guys, please make sure that you follow Saysha. Find her on Ravelry, on Instagram. Are you on Facebook as well?
I am,
I
yeah.
didn't look.
Insatiable Facebook
Okay,
too.
so also on Facebook, but take a look. She's also on BIPOC and Fiber, and I think it's .com, right? Am I getting that
And
right?
so,
I think so. But you can find her in all of those places. So grab one of her patterns or multiple of her patterns, and then give us a shout if we can help you with yarn. We would, of course, love to do that. So hopefully, I'll get to chat with you again sometime. I would love to.
I hope so. I
Yeah,
hope
that
so.
sounds really good. Well, have a great holiday, and if you hang on, I'll close this out here, and then you and I can say goodbye properly.
Great.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much.